for me to be here as like a, you know, descendant of survivors of genocide, like I think it's incredible. And I think that with that, I really wanted to honor my ancestors because when I was learning about everything they had went through, you know, there was this, it's a lot to, you know, come to terms with.
Vern Metztli-Moon, thank you so much for your time tonight. Specifically tonight, because we are talking the night before the new album comes out. How are you doing? You just look very calm and relaxed on an eve of a new album. Is that just a facade? Is there a raging energy underneath? What's going on right now?
So I think that it'll hit me when it's actually out. I think my brain is kind of just like not totally putting together that tomorrow it comes out because it's just been so many years. Like it's been
Right.
3 years in the process. So yeah, I think it'll hit tomorrow or something. Maybe after this.
For sure, for sure. Now, in today's world, an album release date often means that everybody has to be like on every device possible and look at reactions and respond to comments and all that kind of stuff. But what's tomorrow like for you and the whole gang?
So I think I think we're all going to be at work tomorrow. I know I will. So I'll be there and I'll just, you know, kind of have to go to the bathroom every once in a while for like 10 minutes at a time and just to like see how things are going.
Well, this album is pretty intense. I've obviously had a chance to listen to the full album. It is an insane cocktail. I think after listening to it in full, I needed multiple cigarettes, and I don't even smoke. There's a lot coming at us. But then what's really interesting, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, and there's a lot to go into, and we'll do that. But one of the first things that for me really stood out when just focusing on the music itself is this album is insane in every way, and it's extremely, well, there's a lot of extremities to this album, but it's also so extremely catchy at the same time. And I thought that was a really interesting and weird discrepancy that I wasn't expecting. Like, you know, almost every song is so different from each other. And you throw a lot at us, but there's always like something that catches you straight away. Like, is that something that you were very conscious about when you were writing it? Is this something that just kind of happened? Does it surprise you how some of these songs are so catchy, even though they're quite extreme?
So, yeah, I think it just sort of happened because like all of us in Turian are huge music nerds. We're all really obsessed with like all kinds of music. And I think that like it comes out in each song. You know, like we wanted to do something that was a little bit different. And I know that Drew really wanted to incorporate electronics and stuff. And so I was really excited about that. And I think that's like probably the thing that made like the biggest like shift for us and like just what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And just having so much like room and flexibility with like all of the electronic samples and stuff really like made us feel more comfortable to like branch out and like refer like I guess make like references to like other artists or musicians that we like a lot.
You know, labels and PR teams will have slapped the label of metallic hardcore on you, and sure, everybody needs a label, or every music needs a label for people to kind of understand what they might get into. But I love how you say like, oh, we wanted to do something different. Every band says that, but few bands actually do something truly different. Like we get, you know, yeah, there's noise here, there's hardcore here, there's industrial here. Like it's almost at one point that we get Helmet meets KMFDM meets Mastodon meets some prog. Like there's just a lot of things happening at the same time. I can't wait for everybody to start trying to label you after this album. Is that also, coming from Seattle, a place that is, I mean, iconic for being extremely diverse, especially from the music perspective, where there tend to be no lines in the sand. Like, instead of me going to look for all these influences and bands and what have you that I might hear, is the city or the scene of Seattle itself an influence on the band?
I mean, I think so. I mean, for me personally, I know that a lot of the artists that that inspired me to get into making music are from Seattle. You know, like there's a few artists I can think of off the top of my head that are Seattle locals, or at least were in Seattle for a while, like Do Normal or artist formerly known as Goyaba. There's this band, The Bitter, and like I think that they had like a huge influence on like the way that I wanted to write music. You know, they talk about their like within their music they talk about, I mean, their experience as musicians and people of color in Seattle really it comes through, and when I would see them play or hear their music I just felt super inspired to like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, follow that myself. I wanted to do something similar.
Construction and carry us to disease.
This is not your first album, and you've not been afraid to be, to explore it in the past, but it almost feels to me as a listener that the band today, or over the last few years, as this has been written, feels more comfortable to let loose more than before. Like, does the band today care a little bit less about what people are expecting, maybe? Like, were you maybe in the past trying to stick to certain things more than now?
I think for myself, definitely, because the last album we did was the first time I had ever really presented, because I've been writing poetry like my whole life, but it was usually like really private, you know, just for me.
Right.
And when I decided I wanted to do music, I didn't write each song on No Longer Human, but I wrote a lot of them. And I think that, you know, in that album, it was my first time like writing something to share with people. So
Right.
I could tell I held back a little bit because I wasn't totally sure, like, you know, how to approach songwriting, what people maybe wanted to hear, what I was comfortable with sharing, because it's really vulnerable. But I think that after we had put that one out, I think I had this like itch to like just be more like personal and to, you know, I guess talk about like my experience or like the things that I see in the world are just like things that are coming from my heart, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it definitely, for me, I definitely felt more freedom to like express my like lyrically, my music, and just like I think with the lyrical content that I came out with, I think that it really helped, you know, Drew and Ryan and Cris and Carlye just really dig deeper into like ways to emphasize, you know, what I was trying to get across. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's definitely a big change.
Is there also like a sense of urgency in a way, to open up like that more? I mean, this is a, you talk about oppression, you talk about tyranny. Um, this is a scary album for scary times, and I mean, as an outsider, here in Canada, looking into, I mean, still Canada, we're still not your 51st state. Um, Scary times in the U.S. I mean, maybe it's always been scary times in the U.S. I'll let you tell me that. But did it also feel like there was kind of like this feeling like now of all times we have to speak up more, we have to make a stand more?
So I think since I started writing it a while ago, I mean it's more fitting to the times now. But I think I was writing it out of my own sense of just what I was observing in my life and in my like journey. with like, I guess, healing and like trying to, I guess, break cycles that have continued in my family for a long time. I was reading a lot about like, things like generational trauma, and like also like, resilience. Like I was spending a lot of time reflecting on not only the like trauma or the ways that that's impacted me, like the pain and the grief, but also trying to find like the resilience and the strength, because, for me to be here as like a, you know, descendant of survivors of genocide, like I think it's incredible. And I think that um with that I really wanted to honor my ancestors, because when I was learning about everything they had went through, there was this it's a lot to, come to terms with. There was a lot of rage and pain there, so like I really wanted to give them kind of, I wanted to be the vessel for like their grief. I wanted to express that because I felt like a lot of it had been silenced and like repressed and just kind of left there. And I feel like I inherited that, and I wanted to give my ancestors like what am I trying to say here? I guess I just wanted to like express it for them through me, because I feel like they deserve that, and I feel like it's one of the best ways of honoring them is by doing that.
By turning yourself into a vessel, as you say, for to talk about the hardship and the struggles of indigenous peoples of the Americas, that must also, like, you're already talking about some dark stuff, some maybe more macro, some more personal, but that must also take an extra layer of pressure or weight on your shoulders by doing this. Like, how hard was this for you personally to be that vessel, if you will?
I think I was ready for that, taking on that role. I think it actually like being able to like have the outlet to scream about it and write songs about it and like make people listen to like the anger I have about it. Really, I think it kind of made it something that didn't feel so like heavy.
Right.
There were definitely some songs that like there are definitely some songs that are like very emotional every time I like perform them, but in the best way, where I feel like it's a productive way of expressing that. Like it needs to come out. There's a lot of negative and there's a lot of negative feelings that come associated with it, but I think that when I have the outlet to just perform it, it's meditative, and it's not as heavy or like taxing emotionally as one would maybe think.
Now, when people think about indigenous music, people might not first think of metallic hardcore with noise and industrial influences. How are the people of your family or of your indigenous community reacting to? Are they aware of what you're doing? How is the reaction from that part? Because I can only imagine that you care a lot about how they would react.
So yeah, I mean, it's always surprising to me that a lot of people don't associate like a certain like aggressive or like metal music with like Native people, because growing up like with my Native community and like in Phoenix, I grew up in Phoenix, and there's so many different like Native nations out there that like I like most of the metalheads and like just like alternative or like specifically metalhead kids I knew were like native kids. And you know, that's who I'm thinking about when I think like, oh, like who do I want to really like fuck with this album, or who do I really want to like this album? And I think about them. Just and for my community, like I know that I've sent some of my music and stuff to like my mentor back at home, who's in my tribal community, and you know, like metal's not for everybody, but like I think that they really appreciate what I'm doing. I have some friends from my tribe, Paskuyaki tribe, who really like it a lot too. Even if they're not necessarily into metal, but you know, I don't think it's reached all the way over in Arizona quite yet, but I have a feeling that my community will really show up for me, and my hometown and everything. So I'm really excited for them to hear it. I want to do right by them.
Yeah. So knowing the weight of this music and the topics that you talk about and all of that, at the same time, it's also just fun, the music. And I mean, a perfect example I think of that is like, I think Chemical Bath is one of the songs on the album that is, you know, dark and heavy in every way possible. But at the same time, I just had a lot of fun listening to the song as well. And I can imagine people coming to shows just want to have a party to that song. Is that okay? Is that weird for you in your performing songs like that, and you just see people having a great time and go like, are you guys also listening to what I'm saying? Because I'm dealing with some dark shit here.
Oh no, absolutely not. I think it's great when people have a good time at our shows because you know, like the thing is like yes, it is, they are heavy topics, but I think it should be celebrated that like, you know, these topics are being like platformed in a way, no matter how small a show is. I think people should be celebrating that, like, you know, hey, these things are being brought up, and like also it's got like this sick beat that like, I don't know, we can party to. You know, like Burden of the Blood is kind of one of like the heavier songs for us, and one time we were doing it at a show and all these kids were like literally like having a piggyback fight with each other, and I thought it was the best. Like I was really happy, like, because you know, I don't want it to be like this funeral type vibe or just
yes,
like,
of course.
You know, I want it to be celebrated because yeah, I think it's just we're in a time where like we can actually do these kinds of things, you know.
Yeah. So then my natural follow-up question is like, if you want to see more of these songs come to life, what do you have planned for? I mean, we're only halfway through the year. What can we keep our eyes open for and our fingers crossed for when it comes to more live shows?
So, you know, my fingers are crossed that we'll get some like tour offers or something, because like I want to do some shows. I have a big dream to like do like what I would call res tour, where we just go hit up different reses throughout, like, I don't know, the East Coast, West Coast, wherever they'd have us. Because again, like, you know, I want to see like more Native people out there and the crowds and stuff. That's really who I want to perform for. I mean, I appreciate anyone who likes my music, but like that's like my ultimate dream is res tour. But like I really hope that we get to go play at a bunch of places. Maybe we could go visit Canada, Toronto or something, say what's up to First Nations. But yeah, so I'm just hoping that those come along. But yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to have you here. I'll keep my fingers crossed to see Canadian shows announced. And if that doesn't work, we'll just have to come to the States to come check you out. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, especially on the eve of your album. I hope that after this you can go, I don't know, either relax or party a bit or whatever you want to do to celebrate the arrival of this new album. And then tomorrow you'll just have to take a lot of breaks at work to go check out all the reactions of everybody, discovering every song. And I have a feeling that most of your fans are going to be happily surprised every new song that starts to play, because it really feels like every song gives us a different curveball, if you will, on this record.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful, wonderful release cycle, and I hope to see you on a stage very soon.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for asking such awesome questions.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.